Planet of the Apes. This was the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes. I loved your character. Limbo, the orangutan.
I remember my agents were like, maybe don't you want to play one of the humans in it so we can see your face? And I was like, if you tell them I want to play a human, I'm going to kill every one of you. I was disappointed because I couldn't play a gorilla. Because my face didn't quite fit the gorilla makeup. So they were like, you can be an orangutan. And I was like, okay.
I can tell by your faces that many of you are shocked at the outcome. I, on the other hand, am not, because I have had the misfortune of teaching you this semester, and even with my ocular limitations, I witness firsthand your glazed, uncomprehending expressions.
Sir, I don't understand.
That's glaringly apparent.
No, it's... I can't fail this class.
Oh, don't sell yourself short, Mr. Coates. I truly believe that you can.
I'm supposed to go to Cornell.
Unlikely.
Welcome to the actor's side. Today, you've seen him in so many. Oh my God, you work all the time. Currently in the Holdovers, playing Paul. That's easy for you to remember. Yes. And a terrific film, Reuniting him with Alexander Payne and, of course, Sideways and so many others. This is Paul Giamatti. Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Back with Alexander Payne. It's only taken 20 years.
Yeah, almost exactly 20 years.
It is.
It's weird. The timing is really funny.
Yeah, he was here, and he said he tried before, I think, downsizing at one time.
That's right. That's right. At one point, downsizing, that didn't work out. Yeah. We talked about trying to do a private detective thing, which never went anywhere. I don't know what we were thinking, but we always talked about that. And then we tried to do this a bunch of times, and scheduling never worked out.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
so
four times or something, 3 times we tried, and it never worked out.
As fate would have it, though, now is the right time for this movie, I think.
In a lot of ways.
In a lot of ways, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, as fate would have it. I mean, you were just saying, I mean, it's landed in a nice spot at which some of the big movies got moved.
That's right.
So these little movies are getting seen. And it feels like a nice movie about sort of empathy and compassion in the world, which is not a bad thing to be putting out in the world.
Right.
But also, we timed it. When we shot it, I think we got a really, really good winter in Boston. Yeah. Because we needed it to be winter, and it snowed a lot. And
so that's not fake snow.
It's not, which never happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So every time you see it snowing in that movie, it's actually snowing.
You're out in it. What's it like acting in the snow?
Great.
Do you like
better
it?
Than the fake stuff, because you can hear the
thing
like generating this like soap suds that fall on you, and you're walking in this weird stuff that's crunching in a weird way because it's not real snow. Yeah. So it's actually cold. It's all that feeling of real snow. It's like it's fantastic.
Wow. Now you play Paul Hunnam, who's a professor at a prep school there.
He's not a professor. He doesn't have a PhD. He has no degree.
Oh, that's well. He's a
So that's his big problem.
He's a teacher specializing in ancient Roman.
Kind of ancient civilization.
Sort of
Greek and Roman stuff.
Which is so perfect because it lends itself to such amusing dialogue and that you get to do.
And he lives in another age entirely. He's doesn't live in the present era at all. And he lives in this crazy fantasy world of kind of classical Roman, all this ridiculous sort of stuff.
What is it about academics? Sideways, you were an English teacher who loved wine too. I mean, there was something.
Alexander's, both of those characters are these sort of intellectual guys who have these particular fascinations and obsessions, wine and then sort of Roman stuff. These kind of obsessives who are not really kind of aware of the world around them and trying to sort of change the world to fit them and that they don't fit into, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's interesting.
He wrote this with you. Well, he didn't write it. Actually, David Hemmingson, is the screenwriter, but it's his idea. He came up with this and the whole thing with you in mind. That's got to be a big compliment for an actor.
It is. It's a huge compliment. I mean, and it's a big gift, the part. And I think because we got to know each other pretty well, I think he knew it was something that would spark my imagination, and I would have a lot to draw on from my own past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you come from, I mean, your father was president of Yale.
He was a
And
professor for a long time.
yeah,
He
and
was,
then actually commissioner of the MLB, a Major League Baseball. Pretty
random.
amazing.
Very random.
You went to Yale,
I did.
drama school.
I went to a prep school too.
And you went to a prep school?
I didn't board there, but I was a day student, so I didn't quite have the same experience, but I went to one of those places.
Wow. So you really, sort of come from this world to understand it.
Yeah, and it was weird because sometimes I felt like I wasn't working hard enough in this movie. I was like, I should be doing more backstory stuff, but I didn't have to. And when I saw the movie, I thought, oh, I see so many people that I knew in this character growing up.
That you sort of brought into it.
Unconsciously, too.
Really? Is that right?
Yeah, some of it. I feel like I said, oh, I remind myself of this professor, friend of my father's in that moment. I think I just was drawing in a lot of stuff from these guys.
It's so fun to watch you play it because there's such great dialogue that you get to do. You're a real curmudgeon, and just like you seem like you don't like the students, but you know what?
He does.
What comes through? I was just going to say, what comes through is below the surface.
Yeah.
This guy, there's so much more to him.
He cares about teaching, I think.
Yeah.
I think he genuinely cares about teaching and teaching these boys the right values. He goes too far. He pushes it too much. And it's become a shtick.
Yeah.
Too. You know what I mean? It's become his shtick. And you watch him kind of lose his shtick a little bit through the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's so great. And it's the first period film for Alexander Payne. He's never done one before.
Yeah.
And he picked 1971, which is perfect.
Ah.
It reminds me of the movies that were made then that aren't made anymore.
No.
We don't see Hal Ashby's movies and those kind of things.
Certainly
Those
don't.
wonderful human
Amazing.
comedy dramas. It's got everything,
Totally,
right?
all those things. Yeah, and I love those movies. I mean, he's a little older than me, but we share a love for that period of film and a nostalgia for it. But I don't feel like the movie's an exercise in nostalgia in some way.
No.
I don't know quite what it is. You know what I mean? It's not really an homage. It's not a nostalgia trip. It's a funny movie. It's odd, actually.
Well, it is, but I mean, the film grain, the logos.
Yeah.
I thought the music score by Mark Orton reminded me
Feels
of
like one of those things.
one of those scores
Yeah.
from then.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. No, it's an interesting thing he did, but it doesn't feel like I said, a nostalgia trip.
Yeah.
It's not all about the bell bottoms, my crazy bell bottoms, and you know what I mean. It's not all like 70s like fetishizing.
Right.
It just is the thing.
And it plays so, as we can tell, people are going. It plays so beautifully now because it's about human beings. Imagine that, and the three of you, each lonely in your own way, connected, finding more about yourselves for that brief period during Christmas.
Yeah, it's like a makeshift family thing.
Yeah.
It's I keep thinking of this movie Shoplifters. Did
Oh
you see
yeah, sure.
Shoplifters?
I love that
I love
Japanese
that.
film.
I love
That was
that
so
movie.
great.
And there's a line in that movie about maybe your real family isn't the family you really should be.
Yeah, they pick
part
up
of.
different people along the way, and that becomes the family.
Yeah, and this is this weird makeshift thing that's going to go away.
Yeah.
But they all manage to help each other take some kind of step forward. Not necessarily clear where it's going to go, but
Yeah. It must be great to do a film with people like Devine, Joy, Randolph, and then have a young actor playing the student. No one's letting him go home for Christmas, so it's the three of you. Dominic Sessa had never acted in front of a camera before. What's that like as an actor, a scene partner with somebody that new?
He was great. I mean, you never would have known he'd never done it before. And his sort of, the kind of freshness he brought to it and the curiosity about it was actually really inspiring. It was great.
Yeah.
It made me feel sort of like, oh yeah, right, this is fun, and this should be. He was fantastic. He's really good. I thought it was great to put a kid nobody knew too. That felt very 70s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kind of go with the risky choice, the kid nobody's ever seen. It felt very 70s.
Right.
Yeah.
Because for all of you actors, there is a moment where that you are them, where you are never seen, where you're, you know.
Yeah, right. Everybody's got to start somewhere. It's an amazing thing for him to start with. But he's very level-headed. He's very grounded. He's a really, really smart guy. and he's a sweet guy, and he was there to learn, and he was great.
Yeah. Well, you started out on stage, obviously, at Yale Drama and doing a lot of stuff, and then Broadway, and kind of a lot of. I noticed your smaller roles when you were starting out were in bigger movies. You were in a lot of big
I was
movies,
in small roles.
Yeah, like Saving Private Ryan with Spielberg and all these kinds of directors.
Yeah,
and
John
things.
Woo and stuff like that.
I know.
Yeah,
right?
I was in a lot of things like that with kind of weird little parts, which was great. I mean, there was no pressure on me, and I got to be around these amazing people like that. I did a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that intentional, or did
No.
you just got
Those are
to-
the parts I got. I don't think I ever imagined I'd do a lot of movies or TV. I thought of myself as a stage actor, and I thought that's what I'd do.
Yeah.
And so the other stuff was just kind of like, okay, I'm getting this stuff. It certainly made my life financially easier.
Yeah.
I wasn't making any money doing theater. So, and I thought, okay, this is what it'll be.
Yeah.
I'll do stage stuff. And then, I did a lot of stuff that wasn't Spielberg too. I did tons of stuff that was not great, and it was little bitty parts. I just thought that's what kind of my career was going to be.
So was the Howard Stern movie a big break for you? It seemed like it was.
Yeah, it was not just a big break. It was a sort of really important thing. I'd come out of school. I felt very confined by the training. It was great training. And I did a lot of those bitty things like that. But I was doing good theater stuff. But then I got that thing, which was like, oh, a movie can be really fun and crazy like this. And that movie was really crazy. And I was allowed to get really crazy. I felt very unconfined by it on film. And I thought, if this is what this is can be. I was deceived into thinking movies were going to be like that because the director was so great, and we rehearsed, and we had all kinds of fun. Things weren't like that, actually, as it went on. But it definitely got more work from it. But I think more importantly, it was very freeing.
Yeah, and it was such a good movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
I was so surprised.
He didn't need to make a good movie. He could have made any piece of junk and it would have been fine. But he chose to make a good movie.
He made a good movie.
He made a really good movie.
And very well cast. All of you in it. Private
great
parts.
director. Betty Thomas was a great director.
Yeah, she's great.
Great.
Yeah. And and there was a line they said you in the audition. I think Philip Seymour Hoffman was up for the role too.
Yeah.
And they said at your audition you were so out of character, weird, and interesting. It got you the role.
I guess so.
What did you do?
I have no idea. I wonder sometimes if it was the accent that I did, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I did this goofy Southern accent. And when the time came I got the part, I said, well, I'll work on a real Southern accent. She said, no. You're going to do that ridiculous, like, Kentucky Fried Chicken accent you're doing. You're not going to do some hard work and make a real South Carolina accent. You're going to do whatever the hell that thing is. You were doing that cartoony accent. So I think it was the accent.
Wow. See? That's so funny. I loved his name, Kenny Pig Vomit Rushton.
Yeah. He was a real guy.
Was he? Wow.
Evidently, it was based on a real guy.
Yeah, programming guy at WNBC.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Let me ask you about some of the others, because you have made so many interesting movies and roles.
Okay.
Bob Zamuda, also Tony Clifton in Andy Kaufman's Man in the Moon.
Mm-hmm. I play Tony Clifton sometimes in that. It's
right,
Jim
when
too,
they're on screen together.
Yeah. The little bitty things where I did that. That was a crazy experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was everybody, people know that Jim did a whole sort of like deep method thing in that, where he was always in character.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he never broke character. And when he was Tony Clifton, he didn't break character either. So he was Tony Clifton all day if he had to be Tony Clifton.
Wow. Is that weird to work in that environment with an actor who's just...
Yeah, I mean, I'd been around people who'd done stuff like that before. Yeah. It was particularly crazy because he was playing two crazy people.
Yeah.
So he was in character for two crazy people all day. So it was intense. Milos Forman had his hands full with dealing with it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I actually heard Daniel Day-Lewis requested that people call him President Lincoln when he did Lincoln.
Yeah, I know people who worked on that, and that's true.
Yeah.
I think whatever his character is, you have to call him.
You have to call him.
I think, it's less crazy when he does it than when Jim did it, I think.
Yeah.
I know people who did that, though, who said it helped them because you'd step in the room with him and it was real. It was happening. He was Lincoln. And you were just like, so I said it was this incredible thing that just drew them right in.
Do you have a process as an actor that you go through to get in, anything or?
Nothing's that strict. I mean, it changes all the time, I guess, depending on what seems right. I do just tend to, this is boring, but I tend to just read the script over and over and over and over and over again.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, to just get the words to where I'm not thinking, if I can do it, if I have the time, where I'm not thinking about them, and it gives me more. Every time I read it, it just makes me start to do different things.
When you did John Adams, for which you won all kinds of awards, Emmys, everything, Golden Globes, it's still the biggest Emmy-winning miniseries of all time.
Yeah.
Do you look at every episode in advance? Do you know where it's going, or because that's a lot of material?
There was a script all written. It was like a phone book. It was like several phone books, and that was all laid out. And as we started shooting it, it started to change, which meant it was going to change down here too. Something changed in episode 2, and you realized it was all going to have to change in episode 7. So it started out with a set script, and then that went out the window.
Wow.
And that was harrowing. I'm not going to lie to you. It was a hard enough job already, but then the script was in constant flux. So I never shut up in that thing.
I know.
All day
and
long.
you could be, John Adams could be very irritating and.
He was a very irritating guy. Yeah, he was a very irritating
It's a long time to be irritating.
It was a long time to be irritating. I said to them when they hired me, I said, I'm going to play him as irritating as everybody says he was, and as he appears to be in this. And they were like, okay. I was like, it's going to be like 9 hours of a really irritating guy. But they were like, okay. I was like, okay, then I'll do it. Because I thought this will be interesting, because you think of those guys as these kind of heroic marble bust guys on postage stamps.
Right.
And they were real people, and I think it did a good job of capturing real people.
Oh, no, it was great, and a great adaptation. Actually, a friend of mine wrote it, Kirk Ellis.
He's great.
Isn't he? Yeah.
And the fact that he kept up with keeping that language in a script he was constantly having to rewrite is incredible.
Yeah.
Actually. I mean, that was an amazing feat that he pulled off.
Yeah, he's really good at the historical. He just did another one in France.
He's really good.
Yeah. And that was a tough book to adapt,
Really good. And all of that, most of that dialogue is taken from diaries and letters and real things.
Wow.
Amazing. He was amazing.
That's so cool. Now, of course, Billions,
Mm-hmm.
sadly has ended,
Mm-hmm.
although maybe there'll be a movie down the road or something.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah,
They're going to do a, Billions universe.
Yeah, I heard they were spinning off and doing
A bunch
everything.
of shows they
Yeah.
plan to do,
That character is really intriguing. I really like that character.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Oh, yeah, no, he was...
He's a strange character.
He's a very strange, and he goes, and he does all this stuff, but I heard Preet...
Yeah, loosely
a
based
little
on Preet
bit,
Bharara.
okay.
Yeah, a little bit. It
Elliot
changed pretty
Spitzer, a
fast.
little
Yes,
bit.
yes, both.
The
All those
kinkier
kinds of
part
guys.
of,
Yeah, the kinkier part of it. All those kinds of guys, yeah. But
Right.
he was way more dastardly than most of those guys are.
When you signed on to do that, did you know you were going to do 7 seasons?
No. I don't think anybody expected. I don't think the guys who wrote it expected it to go that long.
Yeah.
I can remember them being like, "Wow, we got 2, we got 3." And they were a little bit like, "Holy cow, did people really like this?" I don't think anybody thought it was going to go on that long.
It definitely had a following. There's no
For sure.
question.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting the way it ended, the finale of it, because it was so out of character for the show. It was almost like the Holdovers, a feel-good.
You're right. No, you're totally right.
It was unexpected.
It was unexpected, and I remember it was unexpected to us. That we did not know it was coming up. They didn't want to tell us. They kind of kept us surprised. And I think we all thought it was going to be a bloodbath at the end.
Yeah.
And we got this kind of gentle thing. And I thought, that's so smart, because the show was all about twists and thwarting expectation. I thought that's the biggest twist they could do at the end of the show, is end it nicely. You know what I mean? The biggest out of the blue twist is that it ends peacefully, sort of. Yeah.
That whole world of, that, and you did Ben Bernanke, you played, you seem to be involved in those kinds of things a lot.
Yeah, for a little bit I was,
Yeah.
Yeah, for a little while there I was involved in like financial crime
Right.
things. I don't know why.
What did you
But
learn?
things go through funny phases like that.
It does.
There was a period of time on stage where I played priests all the time. I played like 5 priests in a row. I don't know why.
Really?
Yeah, things happen. You play doctors all of a sudden all the time. Then that stops. You play lawyers all of a sudden. Sorry, what were you asking?
No, I was just saying you were in the high finance world and all of those scandals and things with that, which is
Yeah, I didn't retain much knowledge about those things. The Too Big to Fail movie was interesting to do. I got to meet him, Bernanke.
You did.
I had
yeah.
lunch with him. Yeah.
Wow.
But everybody managed to meet. A lot of people managed to meet their actual counterpart
Yeah.
that they were playing, which was interesting.
That's interesting. You know, because when you play, you've obviously played a few real people and things. There's a certain responsibility that actors
Especially if they're alive.
Yeah.
Especially if they're some way recognizable. That puts a lot of pressure on you.
Yeah.
And him, I thought he's so enigmatic. I'd like to meet him and see what he's actually like.
Yeah.
And he's pretty enigmatic. It was still hard to read him.
Really?
He was a very hard person to read. Yeah.
Those guys that run the Federal Reserve, you know, they're
Got to have the game face on all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
It's interesting. I just love your choice. I'm going to keep going. Planet of the Apes. This was the Tim Burton Planet of the Apes. I loved your character. Look, he's not one of the big main things
No.
there. Limbo,
Yeah.
the orangutan,
Yeah.
who was just sort of like trying to survive the whole thing.
Yeah, that's right. He's a comic. He's kind of the comic relief in it. That was a huge wish fulfillment thing because I was
it?
obsessed with those movies when I was a
Oh,
child.
yes.
Obsessed with them. So the idea that I could be in one of those blew my mind. And
Wow.
I remember I just got offered that, which was unusual at the time.
I mean, when you're playing an orangutan
Yeah.
like that, do you have somebody in mind?
There were real orangutans that I went and watched, but it's what developed. I put those teeth in, and I really wanted to learn how to talk with those teeth. There was a little bit of like W.C. Fields in that thing. You know what I mean? There was a little bit of that in that thing. And there was actually a guy that I knew growing up who was a friend of my father's who actually there ended up being quite a bit because I thought I looked like this guy. And so there's a lot of that guy in it too.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved doing that movie. I loved doing that.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
great. And you could probably, they're doing more now, you know.
Yeah, but it's CGI now.
Yeah, oh yeah.
There's
That's
not as
right,
much
that's
fun,
different.
I don't
Yeah.
think. I wouldn't think that's as much fun.
No,
Yeah.
no. But they're going to do a whole other.
I
I thought
know.
the last one was the
I've
end
enjoyed the new ones, yeah.
of it. Yeah, but you know, there's you were also very good in Love and Mercy, by the way, as Eugene Landy. Talk about playing another person who's very.
Very strange person. Yeah. And that was weird because there's not much about him
Yeah.
that isn't just completely negative. So that was a tricky part. But I've had to be really evil in that. The only way that part of storyline was going to work is if I was just
Yeah, because
really
he
awful.
led Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys.
Although
obviously.
Brian Wilson says he wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for him.
Yeah.
As bad as he was, he probably wouldn't be alive. That guy was really a strange character.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
Well, once again, there's all kinds of awards buzz. You're getting all kinds of attention in that way. I mean, look, you've been nominated for 6 Golden Globes. You won a couple, 7 SAG Awards you've won. 1 Oscar nomination, should have been at least 2. I'll get to that. And 4 Emmy nominations, and you won that.
Wow, that's more than I
Does
knew
that,
that I-
you know, when people start talking awards,
It's lovely. It's nice to have people. It's great. I mean, you know, it's not something I ever anticipated happening in my life, but it's great. Sure, it's of course. I'm an actor. I have a huge ego underneath it all. I hide it well, but of course I do. So of course it's flattering.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think sometimes when you don't get a nomination, when everybody says you are, when you've gotten all the precursors like Sideways, and then you don't get it, I think for your entire career since then, people go, you should have been nominated. I cannot remember who won or who was nominated that year, but I remember that you weren't.
Right. I think there is a weird effect like that happens. There's actually people who thought I won. There's lots of people who think I won, and I'm like, I didn't even. So it is odd. It does have that effect because it's such a meaningful thing to people that whatever happens there, it has some sort of effect. Yeah.
Well, you should have.
Well, I appreciate that.
It's a
Thank you.
great character, and I think you and Alexander Payne make magic together.
I
There's
agree.
no
He's an
question.
amazing director.
No question, and The Holdovers is another really wonderful achievement, and a human movie, and just a great old-fashioned good time at the movies.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome, man.
And I'm so glad that you can now talk about it, because that strike was, we missed you at Telluride. And
Yeah,
Toronto.
we all were disappointed not to be able to be there. I mean, we needed to strike and everything, but we were all kind of frustrated. We wanted to talk about this movie.
Right, and the minute it settled, you suddenly are...
A tsunami of stuff to do.
Right, it just
like
happened like boom.
Boom. Oh, my phone exploded the second they called off. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's a movie we all love, so it's easy to talk about.
Yeah, so good. Well, Paul Giamatti, thanks so much for joining us on
Thanks.
the actor's side.
Thanks, man.
Best of luck going forward.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, man.